Hello, Jeff. How are you?
How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you guys hear him?
Yes.
All right. We'll start the regular meeting for the City of Manistee Housing Commission. And take roll call. Steve Fonsnick.
Here.
Jim Smith.
Here.
Jeannie Pelton.
Here.
Karen Goodman.
Here.
All right, as staff, I have myself, Acting Executive Director, Deputy Director, Cindy Scott, Financial Analyst, and Kevin Hominiak from Maintenance Department. Michelle is not here. She's at the office today to keep things running, keep the office open. All right. Do I have any amendments to the agenda? No amendments to the agenda. All right, public comment to any related items on the agenda. No comment. Thank you. And all right, so then I'll go down to consent agenda and approval of meeting minutes from our last regular meeting, January 24th, 2023. Can I get?
Your minutes say the 21st here, January
20
21st.
Yeah. Oh, if our regular meeting was the 24th, I apologize.
Okay, all right.
I'll make that correction.
And our special meeting minutes, maybe next packet?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, can I get approval on minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of January 24, 2023 regular meeting.
I'll second that.
All right, so, roll call on minutes. Approval, Steve Fonsnick,
Yes.
Jim Smith,
Yes.
Jeannie Pelton,
Yes.
Karen Goodman.
Yes.
Minutes. All right, old business. So we're going to bring to old business phase 2, City of Manistee Housing Commission, 48 family site units. We discussed it at the last meeting. We wanted to table that discussion. I think one of the things was to be able to either set up a work session, set up a time to be able to have someone from the EJP consultants come and talk to us about our options for phase 2. That was something that was talked about.
I think that's a good idea. None of us were in any of those previous discussions when we talked about phase 2 and all that stuff. So I think it would be very beneficial, just like it was when the consultant came and kind of gave us an update. I think that this would be great for the scattered sites so that we can have a better plan. Also too, maybe in a work session, because, we have to talk about who's gonna do it, how we feel about that, all of that stuff, As we wrap up one project, we're gonna wanna make sure that that's wrapped up nice and tight before we agree to that second one. And I don't think there's any timeframes, right, Jeff?
Yeah, there was.
Was there, the 20?
Yes, there
There
is
is.
a time frame with Commonwealth.
There's a time frame only with Commonwealth.
Oh, okay, all right.
So
Time frame just contains to Commonwealth, not to when we have to complete our phase 2. And pertaining to Commonwealth, there's a bunch of unknowns. So that would also be discussed at that work session as well.
And the Commonwealth is at the 2024 date, if I'm remembering correctly?
That's correct. They were given a 3-year notice to proceed.
All right.
So, and that expires on, I think, May of 2024. I'll pull it up though.
Thank you. Yeah, it was in all those
That was
emails.
one of the hundreds of documents.
So it would be May 7th, 2024 is the date to that notice to proceed expires.
Okay.
And I don't know whether I'm assuming that notice to proceed is that they have the right to participate and be the developer for phase 2. I'm not sure if I don't think it's completion by the 2024 deadline, or if it's enter into development agreements for that. So I'm kind of unsure on that as well. I'd have to ask Melissa Warden, the developer attorney, regarding exactly what has to be done by that May 7th, 2024 deadline. I also know that those agreements provide if the parties do not want to proceed with phase 2, then they can elect not to. So if that's something Commonwealth no longer wants to do, is to be the developer for phase 2, they could sign a resignation, but that's something that we would have to discuss with Commonwealth, because right now, pursuant to this notice, they are the developer for phase 2 unless agrees otherwise.
Okay. So,
So I think we should probably schedule a work session, and I think Commonwealth should probably be there, right?
I would think so. I think that'd be a good, if they're going to be the developer, they should definitely be present at the work session to discuss with you for, possibilities.
Is there a document that was signed that we can have a copy of on,
contract.
a pre-contract or a contract or whatever with Commonwealth for the phase 2?
I can, I emailed the notice to proceed. I'll also email the development agreement over to all four of you.
Okay.
Thanks.
And that is where the rights for the phase 2 come in, and that was signed on May 7th of 2021. So they're getting close to the deadline.
Jeff, do you know, or Lindsay, do you know when CTHV actually came out of RAD and started the time clock for the 15 years?
The tax credits started December 7th of 2021.
But that's only for phase 1 though.
Correct.
Right. So it's been a little over a year now, right? Okay.
Well, we have 3 years on that.
There's a couple things with phase 2. Number one is what we're going to do, and number two is we have a big election year coming up in 24, and if the Republicans take over the executive, there might not be any RAD anymore. So that's another thing to consider.
All right, so set up a work, do we want to do a doodle poll, or if we can set it up at the beginning of the day or the end of the day, but not in the middle of the day?
I can send, do you want me to send out like a survey of
That
what
would
would
be
work best?
That'd be
Okay.
great.
Thank you, because I think it's going to probably take a couple hours.
Yes,
And then we got to get.
and we need to know when Melissa Warden
Right.
and
And when Commonwealth can have
And Jonathan
somebody
can
on
be here, yeah.
Zoom or something.
And Lindsay, do you know who from Commonwealth would be the best person to be present at that meeting?
The only person that I have a lot of contact with is Jonathan Nesberg, the developer that's been assigned. So he would be the one person from Commonwealth that I would reach out to.
yeah, he's got headquartered in Grand Rapids, right?
that's what I'm showing on the letterhead, but
Now, looking at the phase two list of properties, we have 4 of them that are offline, meaning that they're gonna take substantial rehab,
Yes.
but the rest of the properties are all fairly, well, hopefully they're rentable because they're all occupied.
There's a lot of work that still needs to be done to them. Yeah.
Probably some of them don't meet the current ADA standards.
Yes.
Do they have to meet ADA standards?
When they're renovated, they will.
Well, when they're renovated, but
Yeah,
not.
but they've been kind of like grandfathered at this point because of occupancy, I'm sure. But if they're gonna be renovated, they'll have to go to the new ADA standards. I mean,
Only if they're going to be a handicap
well,
unit.
no, I think you have to have certain ADA standards and like if it's gonna be someone who's a wheelchair, that might be different where you'd have a sink that's lower, purposely redesigned a little bit different than if a person maybe uses braces or,
But we do have in the system, we have ADA compliant units.
You have single floor, doorways are not 32 inches, I think they're supposed to be, but I think they're
36.
36. Hallways are not more than 2.5 feet, they should be 3, something.
Well, I was under the understanding that 10 units in both Century Terrace and Harborview will meet ADA standards.
Probably. I mean, it's part of the RAD.
So it's not every unit.
it's,
So what I'm saying is those 20 units would probably be enough to not have to worry about ADA standards in the,
Okay, that's that. Now, these are our sites. This is the Housing Commission sites with the RAD 2. They're still under our,
but they're all in one. They're all gonna be in a CTHV situation. If we,
maybe,
right,
it's part of our meeting.
it's either that or continue on with HUD, with public housing.
We have to measure it all out.
Mhm.
See what's more beneficial for the people.
Lindsay, do we have a waiting list for these dispersed units?
Yes.
How many people?
I don't know the numbers. I can get you a list of the numbers for 1, 2, and 3, and 4 bedroom units.
Are we under an obligation to have a certain percent of our available units rented? You know,
Yes.
that used to be a past requirement that
Yeah.
you had to have a certain level of occupancy.
Yes. Yep. They want 98% occupied or, 100%. Each month I have to report back to HUD why there's a vacant unit and why, how long it's been sitting there. I have to do that before the 15th of every month.
Okay. And another understanding I've had from previous experience with the housing is that we're required to maintain a certain number of units of housing, like we have Harborview in Century Terrace, and we have undispersed units. What number of units are we required to maintain or have available
For what?
for housing?
You mean vacant?
No, I'm not meaning vacant. I mean, how many units of housing do we have to maintain to keep our Section 8 funding and everything else going? Is there
don't know.
a certain percent? Is it 80%, 90%, 95%?
I don't know of any number that would make them say that they're not going to continue to fund or anything like that. If you have the units, they're going to continue to fund them. When they go offline for a certain amount of time and you don't do something with those units, then you could lose the subsidy on that.
Okay.
So what I recall from that consultant was that, how did she say that? In these 2 units on the river, there will be some Section 8. But if somebody moves out, let's say there's somebody that moves out, those could be transitioned into regular payment or whatever you'd call it. I don't know, I can't remember the term she used. But only some Section 8 in the building.
I don't know. I always thought that when we signed RAD, you signed it for 20 years. And then you had, after the 20 years was up, then there you have the, I think it's called the first right to refusal, and then it basically you sign another one for 20 years. So I was always under the understanding that there was like a 40-year period that no matter what, there was going to be a service for low-income housing.
Right, but but from what I can remember from that consultant, she talked about they can set that, how many Section 8 and how many are regular cost.
Well, they have set that, Karen.
Yeah.
It's 100% Section 8.
Okay.
Yeah, every unit has a voucher. Every person that comes in there.
I'll have to go back to the, to her presentation, because there was something about,
There are some people who can pay fair market rent, though.
that's what it's called, fair market.
Yes,
Yes.
so
Okay.
under the RAD conversion, when you switched over to RAD, you were protected as a previous resident to convert over, no matter what kind of income that you had. Because in public housing, once you're in the program, you can accrue more income and you can set at a flat rate. Flat rates are put in every year. You guys, approve those flat rates. When RAD comes over, everyone's rent is based off of 30% of their annual adjusted income. There is no flat rent. It's always 30%. So those people that came over, there was a protection it's called a phase-in. For 5 years, their rent would increase until they got up to 30% of their annual adjusted income to preserve those people that were in public housing and then grandfathered into the RAD program. Now, if you were new coming on into the program, there are income limits. So you would be, disqualified, or, your application would be denied if your income was over the income limits that are set.
How long can a property be offline? Or is there any limit to that?
For the scattered sites, 2 years from the day that it's put online. I did talk to Naomi because that was one of the things that was brought up at the last regular meeting. There was a concern of a timeline. So when I talked to her about that, she had said that would be one of our least worries, because if we have a plan or we have something going, in the works, we can work with HUD by saying we need an extension, or we have a board that's got a plan, or we're gonna submit this. So she said that would have been one of our least worries too. The biggest thing is she would say, you gotta get a plan in place.
When is the 2 years up on those? Were they all taken offline at the same time?
I believe 3 of them were on at the same time, and then 1 came later on. I'd have to look at those dates for you.
So we have to have a plan before that 2 years is up, or we lose those.
I think we've had an extension, haven't we, on the, was it 9/11?
Naomi said that you can submit extensions for those.
I think Vine Street's been off for more than 2 years.
I remember Clinton saying that he was trying to do something so that it got extended so we don't lose them.
Do we know for sure it got extended for Vine Street? Because that's that 3-bedroom that's been off.
I'll
Will you
look.
check on
Yeah.
that, please? Thank you.
I would make an assumption that under phase 2, the offline units would be the first units to be rehabilitated. I mean, since they're vacant and offline.
Well, I think that once you put in your plan, you would say that this is the plan, and if those units were in that plan, depending on where that timeline is, as long as you had a plan, this is what I got from Naomi, as long as you had the plan and it was submitted to HUD and approved, then your extension in those units would be, extended.
Okay.
Anything else about phase two? And Vanessa isn't here. Everyone got their email this morning from her.
An additional email?
Just one that
She
said that
said-
she wasn't gonna be here.
Oh, no, I didn't.
I didn't get that. You told me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's showing symptoms and tested positive for COVID.
Oh.
You have old business phase 2A, B, City of Manistee Housing Commission meeting times and dates. I'm not gonna let that one go. You can't skip over it.
50% of the commission at the current time works.
And 50%
Trying.
doesn't.
We're trying.
So our
trying
meeting
to work.
starts at noon, not at 7 a.m.
Jeff, are you able to meet in the mornings?
Yes, I am, as long as I know the day in advance. And mornings would actually work best for me in most cases, especially if you're gonna stick to a Tuesday. Wednesday mornings are usually pretty bad just because one of the PHAs I recommend, I represent usually has hearings Monday mornings, not Monday mornings, Wednesday mornings. So usually Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursday and Friday mornings. I mean, it's up to you four, and then there's some evenings I can do as well, but the fourth Tuesday evening I can't do because I have a Flint Housing Commission board meeting that I have to be at. So I can pretty much be open except for Wednesday mornings. Wednesdays are bad. And then the last Tuesday, the fourth Tuesday in the evening's pretty bad.
I'd prefer a 9 a.m. meeting. How about the staff? Is that a problem for staff?
No, I do want to ask the commission to consider for March's meeting, I did put in a vacation and I did not.
Are you kidding? What?
Sorry.
That's all right, I'm on vacation for that meeting too. So let's change it.
So maybe the third Thursday of the month at 9 a.m.
Can we do 10?
At 9 a.m.
Doesn't matter to me.
And then maybe afterwards, we could do the finance, like at 10.
This coming third Thursday, I will not be here. Right, wait a minute, that's the 16th, not the 23rd though, right? Because there's
Correct.
5 Thursdays.
It's the 16th.
Oh, I will be here, jeez. Okay, so Thursdays at 9 a.m., is that gonna be ongoing?
That would be one.
What about some of our guests? Is that 9 a.m. too hard to get here? I will be. All right,
Third Thursday.
can I make a motion, we move our meeting times and dates to the third Thursday of every month at 9 a.m.?
Second.
I will, okay, Jeannie, Jim? I will put together, resolution for the meetings going forward.
Thank you.
Also, the elevator is back in operation at City Hall. If we want to reconsider our meeting place.
Is this free? This is a lovely place to meet. You can go spend money downtown.
It's close.
It's close to the.
And a liquor store across the street.
Yeah.
I did ask, what the schedule was like for Tuesdays. I did not ask for any other date. I will ask to see if this is available for Thursday.
Okay, yeah, check on that.
Yeah,
If not, we go back to.
We'll go back.
if not, we'll move back.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed.
New business, none. Presentation and discussion, we've already talked about Vanessa's presentation. Guess I'll move on to reports and communication. I don't have, the biggest one was letting you guys know about my vacation, making sure. And then did you have any questions about the memo or anything like that I sent over?
No, so we're just rescheduling Vanessa for the next meeting or when she can come.
Yeah, yep.
I think the first question we have to answer before we have a meeting with Vanessa is whether or not we can reduce the number of units that we have.
Yeah, if we
I mean,
get,
she's looking at two particular properties.
Right.
That would drop us to 46 instead of 48. Is there some sort of a restrictive requirement out there that dictates that we'll maintain 48 units?
We've had some of these conversations and Clinton had been looking into it. Also too, again, we have to have the consultant here because some of the units really might not be salvageable. So this is everything's on the table about what can we do. And Habitat seemed like a good marriage of ideas. Can't give them stuff, but if something has to be demolished, then we look at property and, what do we want to do? So some of that conversation was happening. Vanessa and I had met with Clinton and Bill up at the city. So there's been some conversations, but the big thing is exactly what you're saying. We need to know about the second phase, because some of these places have been offline for a long time. So are they salvageable or not? And there was talk about some other homes are not salvageable as well, so it's huge. It's we're gonna have to build new.
The second phase could incorporate a lot of variables. For example, more multi-unit as opposed to single unit, depending on the property size and zoning, which might actually result in some properties being excess to the Housing Commission's needs. But I think those are the things that we need to know and understand before discussing units that are available.
I think Vanessa, just in the conversations I had with her the other night, it's just to keep it on the radar that Habitat, it wants to be a partner and, in any way, shape or form, they want to be able to help out and, also, a win-win for the city.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she just kind of wants to keep in the mix so that we don't forget. Because I don't think I know they have other plans right now, so that they're just kind of sticking with us so that in case anything does come up, they're right there.
We want to protect the 48 Section 8 vouchers. That's what we want to protect.
right,
And if we can't protect all of them, we want to turn them over to somebody else who would also provide subsidy housing or, an ability for somebody.
Well, I think if we lose them, we'll have no say where they go. That's always
Well,
been the
we'll have
case.
the property, don't forget. I mean, if they can't be fixed or changed, then we still have that property. See, that's the pieces that he was researching.
Okay. In your report, you said that the city wants to do a tour of Century Terrace, Harborview, and family sites. And you wanted to wait on Century Terrace and Harborview until construction is complete. But then you mentioned with the family sites, you need to get through the city's audit. So the city's audit has started
Yes.
and everything's going ahead full steam and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Everyone's cooperating.
yeah.
And those tours will be based on if the occupants want that too.
We've done it before,
There's a few out there that don't mind, but you might not be able to see all of them.
right? Yeah.
You mean go into individual apartments?
Houses,
Oh.
yeah. There, you have to be invited into that one. There's a few people that, I've seen a few places, but not everybody wants you coming over. Especially if it's a bunch of people.
Yeah, I would respect their rights, it's their house.
So we're gonna have table that until we get more construction done over here.
Yeah.
Now, you're scheduling a meeting in early March with Commonwealth to do a walkthrough at Harborview?
Yes.
Is that the final walkthrough?
It would be, I don't want to say a final walkthrough because I know that I would find things. So I would want them to come back and do it. It's going to be with someone different than the people that are on site. So there would be different, because I requested in the meeting to have some, I call it fresh eyes, someone who hasn't been here on the property working and stuff like that, someone who is walking it new, and walking into something and hasn't seen it every single day. So
Do you have a punch list for that day or anything?
there has been a few punch lists,
Mhm.
and that's why I've requested someone new to come in that hasn't been on site every day.
Are we, one of us going on the tour that day?
I haven't had any kind of schedule back from Commonwealth, so I didn't know. I was walking it just for my purpose of the building and stuff, to be able to have someone else look at it and stuff.
Now, in the contract that we entered into to form CTHV and to transform these buildings, there were specific things in the contract, were there specific things that Commonwealth was going to do? And what I'm referencing is back in 2020, February 2020, Commonwealth and City of Manistee Housing Commission put out this beautiful 18-page color brochure to the city saying everything they were gonna do. And I can tell you right now, they didn't. I don't know if that was just on a wish list or if that was what was gonna actually happen. So the contract would spell that out, I would assume. We need to get that straight because there's some things in there that, they were talking about over-the-range microwaves. They were talking about air conditioners. They were talking about LVT throughout. And I know that hasn't happened. So, but I don't know what the final agreement was. This was kind of like a propaganda brochure that went prior to, I think, agreements being signed. So,
Will you be able to find that and get your hands on that agreement?
I just emailed all of you the development agreement. While you guys are talking about other things, I'll still be listening to that, but I'll try and find the other agreements. The operating agreement would not spell out how the actual finished project of each unit would be and what it consists of. The operating agreement is just to spell out what each entity's obligations are pursuant to the actual entity. But let me see if there's actually construction contracts that I have a hold of, and I can email those over to you.
appreciate it, Jeff.
That's great, thank you.
And Cindy, you're gonna start giving us financial statements next month?
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to know if we have any money to pay Jeff.
So does Jeff want it.
Jeff, are you getting paid on a regular basis? If not, you're in trouble.
I am, so sorry.
All right, so that covers reports and communication. Anyone else commissioners have any?
Did we get any applicants from the residents?
No, not yet. I just sent them out last week.
I thought maybe we had a lineup of applicants here.
There's a 60-day window.
Yeah,
For the resident,
right.
for
After
the
60
people that are
days.
here, that's for the resident commissioner.
I spoke with Heather yesterday, talked to her about when the 60-day expires, and we're gonna connect again. April 26th is when it expires, to be able to get it posted on the website, if we don't have anyone.
Oh, okay, so we got,
But if we don't have anyone, it goes to the city to appoint an at-large, so that would be May, their May meeting.
well, hopefully we have some
Yeah.
interested parties.
That'd be nice. And scattered sites too.
Yeah, it can be from any of the housing commission sites.
Yep.
Right, okay.
Did we receive any communications?
Did we receive any communications?
Part D under reports of communications, receive communications.
No. All right, number 9, public comment. Public can make comments. You have any comments? State your name.
Tammy, we had the fire alarm go off over this past weekend. And with the announcement, it's misleading. It's telling everybody to leave their apartments. What happens when you've got people up on the 3rd, 5th, and 4th floor that are wheelchairs and cannot leave?
That announcement is not supposed to be on there. They're working on it right now, getting it off. Your best bet, and everybody that lives there knows,
Stay in their
your unit.
apartments.
I've been working with Topline and Simplex to get that off of there, and they're working in the programming of the new system is very complicated to get that taken out of there.
Thank you.
So it does not come on every time the fire alarm goes off.
When the fire alarm goes off, we tell people to go in there, but stay in their
No,
apartment.
it tells them to get out.
It tells you
I
to
know,
leave.
but you said when there's a fire alarm, stay in your.
That's protocol there because you're encapsulated in concrete. Fire is not gonna get in your apartment.
Is it a fireproof door?
Yes, it's a 2-hour fire rated door, plus it's all concrete.
And there's a plan with the city.
Yes,
That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know.
it's always been, since I've been there, that's been the protocol is stay in your unit. If we need to get you out, the firemen will come and get you out.
Adjacent apartments, all those apartments have concrete between each
Yes,
apartment.
yep.
Are there
I can tell you
sprinklers
those are not 2-hour fire rated doors.
Well, I can show you the tag on them,
anywhere? Are there sprinklers anywhere?
just on the ground floor.
Ground floor, okay. All right.
Well, they didn't have them upstairs?
You require that?
Not back then.
No, I mean, I thought with the conversion, they.
We were told no.
Okay, that's interesting. I see Jeff looks very puzzled right now.
I am, but then you'd have to look at what that's the reason why there's an architect. He's the one, he or she, that entity is gonna be the one drawing up those plans and making sure everything's in compliance, so there's no, all right, no fire system up on the 2nd or 3rd floor, just on the 1st floor.
Ground floor.
Ground floor.
Ground floor.
I guess I wonder what the city's ordinance says on that.
I would have thought
It's
so.
been like that since 1970, so I don't know.
70s.
I know,
Yeah.
but we had that whole renovation though, you would have thought.
I would have thought you'd have to bring them up to standards if you renovated.
If we have an ordinance.
I don't.
Does the city, just out of curiosity, do they issue, what are they called?
Certificate of occupancy.
Certificate of occupancies? In other words, when they get done with rehab, does an inspector come in and say, sign off and
I
say,
believe that would be a state inspector, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't think we have a city inspector. I think it would be the state inspector is gonna do that.
City contracts with the county
Well, yeah,
for building.
we have that too.
but does that happen
But for the
here?
HUD stuff.
In other words, when you move people into the new apartments, did an inspector come in and say this one is ready for habitation?
I've been told by Commonwealth that they're ready to lease.
Okay, so we haven't then.
So there's no sign off by anybody?
Well, there might be, Commonwealth might be doing that, we just don't know that.
And I've got it written down here, who has the certificates.
You'd have to check in with her.
Yeah, I asked Clinton about that previously, and that would be coming from the contractor and the general contractor. The Commonwealth is the one responsible for getting the C of Os, but I was told that prior to any tenant moving in, each unit receives its own C of O. So we should have those. If not us, Commonwealth should be able to get those to us.
Yeah, we should probably have copies somewhere, so we can pull them up if state inspector walks in front door.
Because I was curious, because when you raised the point in your report that you hammered on them to hire someone to clean up after themselves, after them, and they said that you have to keep in mind that it's an active construction site. And I thought to myself, well, if it's an active construction site, how did they get a CFO for the apartments? So,
Your list of questions to ask keeps getting longer and longer.
Each meeting.
any other questions from the public, now that I've taken your podium away?
Yeah. I just, just looking at what's, I think it's Cindy's report, no, it's, whose report was it? So it looks like the bed bug situation's getting a lot better after the treatment with the new guy. Got happier people and things are better. That's good.
No more public comment? All right. All right, so we'll go down to discussion number 10, discussion of Executive Director Clinton McKim-McComas employment agreement and employment. This will be under the closed session.
1526, I'll make the motion that we go into closed session, and participants for our closed session include Lindsay and for and Jeff, sorry.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yes.
Oh, what you guys do? It's over for us. They're gonna stay.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Is that where you're? Are you saying we're going to need a leave?
All right. Now, you're making a motion to close the meeting, and I'm seconding the motion to close the meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Be free.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
I don't mean to be so difficult.
You're not.
No, you're not. You're asking questions. It's all right.
It's all stuff we've got to
It's all stuff we
Thank you,
gotta clean up
look
from
at.
20 years of deal with.